Product life cycle costing. We all know that life cycle management is an approach supporting sustainable development and the most efficient possible use of resources. In this lesson, we will define product life cycle costing, discuss objective of PLC costing, and analyze the approach of PLC costing. After going through this presentation, you should be able to explain product life cycle costing, product life cycle model description, product life cycle costing criteria, and product life cycle cost analysis approach. The life cycle costing process includes identification of items to be monitored, identification of the cost structure, definition of links to estimate costs, and establishing a method for formulating life cycle costs. The cost items monitored include all costs incurred in relation to manufacturing of a product until its disposal at the end of its life cycle. The items should be structured so as to allow for identification of potential links between various items with a view to establishing optimal life cycle costs. Product Life Cycle Management, or PLCM, is the succession of strategies used by business management as a product goes through its life cycle. The condition in which a product is sold, advertising, or saturation changes over time and must be managed as it moves through its succession of stages. The product's life cycle period usually consists of 5 major steps or phases: product development, product introduction, product growth, product maturity, and finally decline stage. Product development phase begins when a company finds and develops a new product idea. During the product development phase, sales are zero and revenues are negative. It is the time of spending with absolute no return. The introduction phase of a product includes the product launch with its requirements to getting it launched in such a way so that it will have maximum impact at the moment of sale. Pricing is something else for a company to consider during this phase. Product pricing usually follows one or two well-structured strategies. This, however, demands a very good knowledge of the market and of what a customer is willing to pay for a newly introduced product. A marketing mix may also help in terms of defining the targeted audience during promotion and advertising of the product in the introduction phase. The growth phase offers the satisfaction of seeing the product take off in the marketplace. This is the appropriate timing to focus on increasing the market share. The company must show all the product offerings and try to differentiate them from the competitors' ones. This period is the time to develop efficiencies and improve product availability and service. Cost efficiency and time to market and pricing and discount policy are major factors in gaining customer confidence. Next is maturity phase. In this phase, market share growth is at the expense of someone else's business rather than the growth of the market itself. This period is the period of the highest returns from the product. A successful product maturity phase is extended beyond anyone's timely expectations. It is difficult for a company to conceptualize the decline signals of a product. Usually, a product decline is accompanied with a decline of market sales. Life cycle cost analysis aims to guide the decision-making process of the designers and purchasers through a vision as wide as possible of the incurred costs of equipment from the acquisition up to the dismantling. This approach stands against the research of the lowest purchase or acquisition cost to establish the profitability of projects on economic basis as deep and exhaustive as possible. 3 main factors compelled generally the designers and decision makers to change the vision of this approach are increased awareness of the current and forecast energy costs, as well as the questions raised by sustainable development. Consciousness of the fact that the original design of the equipment and installation may have a significant impact on the operation and drafting of various technical, and economical models in order to better enable the comparison of various investment possibilities. The scope of the decision and responsibility of the manufacturer and operator are closely linked from the point of view of their impact on costs. Product Life Cycle Cost Analysis Approach. First, LCC Analysis Plan. The aim of this stage is to define the output to be provided and the type of decision. Second is development of the LCC model. It concerns defining the level of detail of the LCC analysis by specifying how the breakdown cost element will be developed. In this stage, first consider life cycle phases. Based on the context, various breakdown forms may be defined for identification of the phases of the life of the system in question. Second, structure of the cost. Based on the previously defined objectives and the levels of intervention and decision on the cost breakdown structure may take a more or less elaborate form. Third, categories of cost. In this stage, information required to evaluate the cost of each element is collected in order to obtain the estimated value of life cycle cost. Results are analyzed and costs refined by identifying the LCC elements which are the most influential cost drivers. Next, LCC Analysis Management. The analysis documentation of LCC through an LCC evaluation report. The examination of the LCC results by a third party, notably when the results give rise to a contractual commitment. The updating of the LCC analysis with consideration of the new data available as well as improvement of the breakdown structure. Next is life cycle cost elements. The life cycle cost equals to initial cost, purchase price, that is pump, system, pipe, auxiliary services, plus installation and commissioning cost including training, plus energy costs like predicted cost for system operation including pump driver, controls and any auxiliary services, plus operation costs like labor cost of normal system supervision, plus maintenance and repair costs like routine and predicted repairs, plus downtime cost like loss of production, plus environmental cost like contamination from pumped liquid and auxiliary equipment, plus decommissioning or disposal cost including restoration of the local environment and disposal of auxiliary services. Now let us check if you have understood the various concepts discussed in this lesson clearly. The scope of the decision and responsibility of the manufacturer and operator are closely linked from the point of view of their impact on the cost. Right or wrong? Right. Product lifecycle management phase begins when a company finds and develops a new product idea. Right or wrong? Wrong. Product development is the succession of strategies used by business management as a product goes through its life cycle. Right or wrong? Wrong. Before we end, let us briefly revise what we have studied till so far. Product Life Cycle Management (PLCM) is the succession of strategies used by business management as a product goes through its life cycle. Life cycle phases is based on the context. Various breakdown forms may be defined for identification of the phases of the life of the system in question. The life cycle cost analysis is a useful tool to quantify all these considerations in a specific application context and to lead final customers to select the appropriate quality and reliability of components for their systems with regards to the overall economic impact of their choices. The growth phase offers the satisfaction of seeing the product take off in the marketplace. This is the appropriate timing to focus on increasing the market share. Structure of the costs is based on the previously defined objectives and the levels of intervention and decision on the costs. The cost breakdown structure may take a more or less elaborate form.